So why is Bangladesh becoming a hub of terror? It's a question I posed to Taslima Nasrin, the Bangladesh author in exile, and also the larger question of the links between Islam and terror.
The recent spate of terror attacks in Bangladesh and several parts of the world have once again refocused attention on the links between Islam and terror. Someone who's been speaking out vociferously on this issue is the Bangladesh author in exile, Taslima Nasrin. Appreciate your joining us, ma'am, on this India Today TV special. First of all, Eid Mubarak to you.
Thank you, Eid Mubarak.
Let me start by reminding you of a tweet that you posted saying people should stop saying Islam is a religion of terror. Now that's a controversial remark. The Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina says ISIS is maligning the name of Islam with these terror attacks. You are saying people should stop saying Islam is a religion of peace.
Yes, Islam is not a religion of peace. There are numerous verses in the Quran that ask Muslims to kill non-believers and non-Muslims. Islam prescribes violence and intolerance.
You're saying Islam prescribes. You're saying the Quran prescribes violence and intolerance. The Quran itself endorses, justifies violence and intolerance. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
How do you then respond to what Bangladesh's Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina says, that ISIS is maligning the name of Islam? These are people who are misusing religion.
It is not true. The Bangladesh Prime Minister is lying. ISIS is practicing real Islam, that the Islam actually was practiced in 7th century by Muhammad and his followers.
Are you then saying that the Bangladesh government is in denial? That it is living in denial, that it is not accepting the reality on the ground?
There is no difference between Islam and Islamic fundamentalism.
No difference between Islam and Islamic fundamentalism. You don't accept that there is moderate Islam, that there are numerous Muslims across this world who protest against any form of violence, who do not accept, they subscribe to the ISIS ideology. Why demonize every Muslim, ma'am?
I am not demonizing.
No, you're saying Islam,
actually
Islam and Islamic fundamentalism is one. Isn't that demonizing an entire religion?
No, not at all. I am not saying that Muslims are, all Muslims want violence, all Muslims are intolerant. Actually, most Muslims want peace. They are against violence. It doesn't mean that Islam wants peace. Islam, there is no peace in Islam. You would find lots of violence and intolerance in Islam. There are, Islam is not compatible with human rights, women's rights, democracy and freedom of expression. And those ISIS, Boko Haram and other terrorist organizations cite Quranic texts that most Muslims think that they are sacred. Actually, those ISIS and Boko Haram and other terrorist organizations, that they say that Islam asks us to kill non-believers. So they are killing non-believers.
It's an interesting point you make, they kill non-believers. Let me respond to that by saying that most of the people, majority of the people who've been killed by Islamic terror groups, whether it is ISIS, whether it is Boko Haram, whether it is other groups operating in different parts of the world, even in Pakistan, are actually Muslims. It is Islamic terror groups who are killing other Muslims. They are not killing non-believers. Majority of the people, more than 90%, who've been killed by Islamic terror groups are actually Muslims themselves. How do you explain that then?
That if you see those Dhaka terror, Dhaka Cafe, they first killed all non-Muslims who were Italians and Japanese, and then they killed Muslims. The Muslims who didn't wear veils or who were wearing Western dresses, and also the Sunni fanatics don't consider Shias and Ahmadiyya Muslims as Muslims, so they kill them. And you know that so many atheist and secularist bloggers who criticize Islam were hacked to death in Bangladesh because they are non-believers, even though they came from Muslim families, but they oppose Islam. They are critics of Islam. So those the true Muslims who believe in Quran and Hadith and who are honest, not hypocrite. Moderate Muslims are hypocrite because they believe some parts of Quran and they don't believe some parts of the Quran, other parts of the Quran. But those terrorists believe everything in the Quran from A to
form.
Z.
But, you know, the reason I'm asking you this because look what happens in Syria. You know, who dies? It's Muslims who are dying. Even in Bangladesh, yes, as you rightly said, there are bloggers, there are minority groups, Hindus who've been targeted.
Hindus, Buddhists and Christians.
Yes, but there have also been Muslims who've been attacked. When a bomb blast takes place like the one that takes place now or on this day today, it kills local Muslims.
Yeah.
My question therefore is, do these Islamic terror groups really make the kind of distinction that you do between believers and non-believers? You believe they do?
Yeah, actually, you know, just yesterday we saw a video that came from Raqqa, Syria. 3 Bangladeshi terrorists, ISIS terrorists, were saying that they will kill Bangladeshi people because they don't believe in democracy. They want to create Islamic, Allah's law there. They don't want any man-made laws. So whoever living in Bangladesh, if they believe in democracy, they are the enemy of Islam. So they would,
But
should be killed.
My point is Bangladesh has always prided itself on being a democracy. Bangladesh has prided itself on the fact that fundamentalists have been pushed to the margins. And when I interviewed Gohar Rizvi, the secretary to the advisor to the Bangladesh Prime Minister, he said that the reason they were targeting Bangladesh, these terrorists, were because Sheikh Hasina had taken a tough stand on fundamentalism. She had hanged those who were responsible in the 71 war, who had spoken the language of bigotry and zealotry.
Yeah, but she didn't kill them because they were fundamentalists. She was against them because they were war criminals. You know, war criminals. You know, the war criminals of Second World War still they're getting punished. Why not 71's war criminals? They are getting punished.
But hasn't the Bangladesh government taken on the fundamentalists, which is why the fundamentalists are trying to strike back? Isn't it true that a majority of Bangladeshis represent a more moderate Muslim voice?
Yeah, but since 80s actually Islamization started in Bangladesh and Islamic fundamentalism is rising, and instead of taking action against those Islamic terrorists who killed so many Hindus, Buddhists and Christians and atheist bloggers, Sheikh Hasina took action against atheist bloggers. She created law, to violate freedom of expression, and she arrested many atheists.
Are you saying
bloggers.
that Sheikh Hasina has not acted against Islamic fundamentalists in Bangladesh?
No.
She has not acted against them?
No, not
and
at
you
all.
Believe, therefore she is part
Not at all. She has very good relation with Hifazat Islami, and she created Ulama League in her own party. It's her own party who are fundamentalists, who are against atheist bloggers. They think that atheists should be killed.
You don't believe, therefore, what she is trying to say is that I am fighting a political battle against those who actually are misusing Islam. I am fighting a political battle against those who are abusing the name of Islam, who are not true Muslims. You don't accept that?
No, not at all. She reacted against those killers only after that Dhaka cafe terrorism. But before that, so many atheist and secularist bloggers were hacked to death, and so many religious minority communities, even homosexuals. She didn't say a word. She didn't make any statement. She didn't say that the killer should be punished. Rather, she said that secularists should be punished.
You in a recent article published in Indian Express write, you cannot approve terrorism by killing terrorists. You need to uproot terrorism at the source to end terrorism. What is this source? How do you fight this
Islam
battle?
is the source of Islamic terrorism.
Islam is the source of Islamic terrorism.
Yeah.
How do you then fight it?
Fight it, you know, we cannot just say that...
You're asking people to change their religion?
I'm not saying that. I am saying that state must be separated from religion, from Islam, in Islamic countries. And critical scrutiny should be applied, you know, that actually I'm telling you, Islam is kept away from critical scrutiny applied to other religions, and Islam has to go through the enlightenment process other religions have gone through by questioning unethical, unscientific, irrational, inhuman aspects of religion. And also, you know, there is no change in Muslim world because those Muslim rulers suppress critical thinking.
Not even in Bangladesh? Not even in Bangladesh? Are you saying there is no space for freedom of expression in Bangladesh?
I have been living in exile since 1994. If there was any freedom of expression, I could live in Bangladesh. And you know, so many bloggers now, atheists and secularist bloggers, have been leaving the country.
So are you saying that you fear that Bangladesh is moving in the direction of a Talibanized state? Is that what you're saying, or is that an exaggeration?
Not exaggeration.
Do you believe that these groups actually represent only a minority, that the majority have no time for these groups? Do they represent the majority voice today? Is there sympathy? Let's be honest, for those responsible for this terrible attack in Dhaka Cafe, do you believe the people of Bangladesh?
They have kind of sympathy.
They have sympathy?
Otherwise, why they don't protest against those ISIS killers? They protest against the Israel government, what is happening in Gaza. They, you know, thousands of people come to the street to protest against Israeli state terrorism. But why not? They don't protest against ISIS terrorism. They don't protest against Boko Haram.
And is your particular worry that in this particular instance of the Dhaka Cafe, the people who are involved were urban middle-class youth who came from good schools, came from relatively affluent backgrounds? Are you saying, therefore, this is evidence to your theory that Islamization is no longer limited to certain poorer areas of Bangladesh, but has spread right across?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what you're trying to suggest?
Yeah, look at the 9/11 terrorists. They were all educated and they were rich. Look, think of Osama bin Laden. He was a rich man, you know. So you must not think, because you find that some men from Pakistan who were given, you know, money and who became terrorists. It's not the case, actually, global terror. Let
me then come to another aspect of it, which is Zakir Naik, a religious preacher who allegedly inspired those responsible for the attack in Bangladesh. You have said Zakir Naik is a terrorist sympathizer. He has been inspiring Muslim youth to become terrorists.
Yeah. You know, Rohan Imtiaz, one of the terrorists, Dhaka Cafe terrorists, he, in his Facebook page, he quoted Zakir Naik, that Zakir Naik asked all Muslims to become terrorists. And then he disappeared. After 6 months he appeared, you know, as a terrorist who killed so many people at Dhaka Cafe.
So you are saying that Peace TV should be banned?
Should be banned.
Peace TV should be completely banned in Bangladesh.
Yeah.
It should not be allowed.
Peace TV should be banned in Bangladesh because of Peace TV, so many young people in Bangladesh are influenced. They are becoming fundamentalists, and, you know, next step is they are becoming Islamic terrorists.
Dr. Zakir Khan also says, and this is what his supporters are saying to suggest that he is not a terrorist sympathizer. They say that he calls the term Islamic State of Iraq and Syria, ISIS, un-Islamic. And to quote him, they say, by using the name Islamic State, we are condemning Islam. They are the anti-Islamic State of Iraq and Syria that has killed innocent foreigners. The name is given by the enemies of Islam. So at one level, he's also saying that ISIS is un-Islamic. It is not true Islam. How do you respond? Is Zakir Khan someone who is a religious preacher, or is he someone who is peddling hate, who's trying to create hate between communities, who's trying to incite violence?
Yeah, he's inciting violence, and also he asked non-Muslims to convert to Islam, and he showed his support to Osama bin Laden and also the terrorists of 9/11 terrorists. He said that it is good to terrorize the terrorist country. So, so if he is against ISIS, it doesn't mean that he is not a Islamic fundamentalist who is terrorist sympathizer. Al-Qaeda is against ISIS also. So Al-Qaeda is also Islamic terrorist organizations. So the people who are against ISIS doesn't mean they are not Islamic fundamentalists or Islamic terrorists.
So you are very clear that Zakir Naik is spreading this terror, is spreading in a way, is influencing the minds of young people in Bangladesh. That's what you are saying.
Yes, two of the Dhaka terrorists were very much influenced by Zakir Naik.
So you believe he should be prosecuted, or should Peace TV be banned? Let's be very clear.
I think that, I am against banning and censorship, but to save humanity, for the sake of humanity, I think that Peace TV should be banned.
It's interesting you're saying that, because you've always said freedom of expression is absolute. Today you're saying that freedom of expression is not absolute. If it incites violence, if it provokes hatred, it must be banned.
No, I'm not saying that, that he actually, because so many people are hacked to death, so many people are getting killed. So that I said that because there is a proof that those terrorists were influenced by Zakir Naik's Peace TV, Zakir Naik's lecture.
How do you respond to your critics who say that Taslima Nasrin has a single point agenda of demonizing Islam, of vilifying Islam, of encouraging Islamophobia?
Islamophobia, the word, was created by Islamic fundamentalists to stop criticism of Islam. But I can tell you, Islam, if you want to, if you really a well-wisher of Islamic world or Muslims, you would encourage critical thinking. You would want Islam should be reformed, Islamic society should be reformed. There should be laws based on equality, not laws based on religion. 7th century's law. We don't want any 7th century's law. We are in 21st century. We want modern laws. We want laws based on equality.
The Home Minister of Bangladesh said that ISIS is not responsible. This is a homegrown terror attack in Dhaka. Do you believe that these homegrown terrorists are today linked to this global jihad? Do you believe there is a global jihad? Do you believe in that word?
Yeah.
There is?
Yeah. They said they are not ISIS. Yesterday's video you would see that they are from Raqqa, Syria, where
they've been trained there, you're saying?
They are ISIS members.
They are being indoctrinated there.
Yeah, and they are members of ISIS organizations, and they are coming to Bangladesh to terrorize.
And you believe they could tomorrow come to India as well? So these groups are all linked to each other. You believe they could get training this side of the border and go to Bangladesh and vice versa. So you believe this threat is not just a threat about Bangladesh, it's a global threat.
Yeah, there is a global threat. They can anytime come to India and do the terror attack.
How will you respond to those who will say that all those who preach hatred, whichever community, whether Christians, Hindus, Muslims, must all, in a sense, be put under the same test? Because in all your comments, you focus on Islam.
It is not true. It is not true.
Is that not Hindu fundamentalism? Is that not Christian fundamentalism?
Always I criticize all kinds of fundamentalism. But I don't know why. It is not.
What's the difference then between Islamic fundamentalism and the other fundamental? You told me today on this program, Islam is the source of Islamic terror. That there is no
Islamic terror.
There is no difference between Islam and Islamic fundamentalism. Islam in its purest form is a fundamental religion.
Yeah. So I always criticize all kinds of religious fundamentalism. And there are so many Hindu fundamentalists who are against me because I really criticize them for killing people for beef. You know, some Muslims ate beef, so they were killed. And because I criticized, they were against me. You know,
you don't speak as vociferously. I didn't hear your voice as strongly there when I hear it when a Muslim fundamentalist is involved in a terror attack.
Yeah, because you know, I know Islam more than I know other religions, and I was born and brought up in a Muslim country, so it is very obvious that I will react against Islamic fundamentalism. And you know that in whole world Islamic terrorists actually are actually they are terrorizing the whole world. Hindu terrorists are limited to India. And you know what, I defend people, whatever their religions, if they are oppressed. I defended Muslims when they were oppressed in Gujarat. I defended Muslims when they were oppressed in Bosnia, when they are oppressed in Palestine, and I defend Christians when they are oppressed in Pakistan. I defend Hindus when they are oppressed in Bangladesh. You know, to me, they are human beings.
Let me ask you a very simple question. This week we are celebrating Eid. Today is Eid Mubarak in parts of India. It's Eid yesterday in different other parts of the world. Are we saying that in this celebration the time has now come for introspection? There are millions of perfectly decent, reasonable people who have never committed an act of violence in their lives. A majority of Muslims are like that. Are those majority of Muslims going to be branded as terrorists simply because of what happens in a Dhaka cafe, or what happens in an Istanbul, or what happens in a Brussels, or what happens in a Paris, or what happens tomorrow in an Orlando? Are those millions of Muslims going to have to suffer for what someone else is doing? I mean, aren't you then playing into the hands of these terrorists? They want to create this division. They want Islam to be demonized so that there is a greater divide.
You know, I think that people who shut their mouth, who do not want to criticize Islamic fundamentalism or don't want to criticize Islamic terrorists, they actually are enemies of Islam or Islamic world. Because if you want Islamic world should change, and Islam should be reformed, and then the Muslims would be civilized, Muslim societies would be civilized, then you would of course allow criticism of Islam. Like, you know, it is possible to you know, criticism of Hinduism, Christianity, Judaism. Without criticism of Judaism or Christianity, they would not have secular societies. And why not you want criticism of Islam so that we can have a civilized Islamic society, Islamic country?
So you are calling, in a sense, for a new wave of enlightenment in Islam.
Yeah.
That's what you're calling for. You don't believe that this criticism is resulting in the demonizing of people who practice Islam, but you are calling for enlightenment of Islam. Am I correct?
Yes, you are correct. And I think that
yes, and
if you suppress critical thinking within Islamic world, then Islamic world will be in the darkness forever. And I don't want, because I am a well-wisher of Islamic world.
And you are presumably a well-wisher also of your home country of Bangladesh.
Yes,
as well.
Of course.
Taslima Nasrin, you've as always spoken your mind. Thank you very much for joining us. Thank you so much.